But underline flies, if you have that in your piece. That flies, what do flies represent? I'm not sure there's anything good that flies represent symbolically, but they symbolically represent death, decay, stench, filth. I mean, where there are flies, you know what I'm talking about. All of those things. So it's not by accident that these flies are here. Why would the author choose to include flies? There's a reason. It's contributing to the overall understanding of this play, what the intent is, what it is they're even discussing. You guys know what I mean? The baby, right? Many of you in your essays, you realize that they're talking about an abortion, the possibility of life versus the possibility of death. All right. So then it says, the girl with him sat at a table in the shade outside the building. It was very hot, and the express from Barcelona would come in 40 minutes. You know, I heard someone say one time, in one class when we were talking about this, that some of the most important decisions that you make in your life, you make in a short period of time. Look at this next line. It says, it stopped at this junction for 2 minutes and went on to Madrid. Well, why would they even bother to tell us about the 40 minutes and the 2 minutes? And that's why. I mean, we decide life and death in the matter of minutes sometimes, and that's what's happening here. Ultimately, this is not a piece that we know the ending to. As a matter of fact, Hemingway keeps it open. We don't know if she goes on to have the abortion or not. There are little hints and suggestions throughout, and honestly, both sides could be defended. So as you write your discussion board answer to this and your discussion board piece to this, I want you to think about, okay, based on this setting, based on what's said here, based on what she's thinking and how she takes power back toward the end when she says, would you please stop talking? Why did she say that? I mean, it seems to me like she's gaining some courage. I don't know. What do you make of it? Well, it kind of depends on how you see that conversation and how certain things come into play. In addition, guys, I know I'm running on 10 minutes here and I'm trying to keep this short, but there are several things along the way that kind of give us some understanding of these people. Remember, he's referred to as the American, and she's referred to as the girl. What's her name? We don't even know. We are told that he refers to her as Jig. That's not her name. That's just a little name that he has for her. Look at that word and take a look at what it means. What do you think Jig means? It's very, very interesting how he perceives her. Now, there's a section in here I'd like you to look at before we go on, and it's when she gets up and looks. Oh, here it is. On page 30, it says, the girl stood up and walked to the end of the station. Across on the other side were fields of grain and trees along the banks of the Ebro. That's a river. Far beyond the river were mountains. You hearing this? She's seeing what is possible. She's seeing what is available. She's seeing what life promises. The shadow of a cloud moved across the field of grain, and she saw the river through the trees. Let me assure you that these words are not here by accident. I mean, he is telling us about her period of enlightenment here, that she has a very important decision to make. Prior to where this begins, it seems as if she didn't have a strong point of view or a strong opinion. But she seems to get one. And how does that happen? How is that acquired? Well, it's certainly not because they're drinking so much. Did anybody read this short story and wonder why there's so much alcohol in here? Well, what does alcohol do? I mean, symbolically, we're talking about why would the author have these people drinking all the time? Well, drinking causes us to, a numbing effect. It has a numbing effect. Why are they drinking so much? And apparently they drink quite a bit. It numbs us. It frees us to do things we might normally not do, or we lose inhibitions. Is anybody hearing what I'm saying right here with regard to these characters and the decisions they're making? So it's something to think about. Why they're drinking so much, instead of, good Lord, this guy must have liked to drink. This author, man, he just focuses on this drinking. No, it's talking about making decisions soberly or not soberly. And anyway, okay, so let's go over here. So she gets to see the grain. Now, one thing that's happening at the end here is that it says he packed picked up the 2 heavy bags and carried them across the station to the other tracks. He looked up the tracks but could not see the train. Coming back, he walked through the bar room where people waited for the train were drinking. He drank an anise at the bar and looked at the people. They were all waiting reasonably. He went on through the big curtain. She was sitting at the table and smiled at him. And she said, I feel fine. There's nothing wrong with me. I feel fine. Well, first of all, let me just give you a helpful hint. When you're, if you're a woman at all and a woman says to you, don't worry about it. I feel fine. Nothing's wrong with me. I feel fine. First of all, that's not true. Okay. I'm just telling you that's not true. So, but anyway, I want you to note the baggage that he talks about, that they have a lot of baggage. That's not by accident, that there's this mention of carrying baggage and having a lot of baggage. So I want you to think about word choice and symbols. I want you to think about symbology. And I want you to think about, in addition to that, time of days. Now, this doesn't necessarily go along with Hemingway, but very quickly, I want you to take some notes. If you're talking about early in the day, there's morning, right? And there's noon, there's evening, and night. Okay, so we have all of these times of day here. I'm writing these down. All right, these correlate with the times of year. So we have spring is like morning. So when these things are used, there's a reason for it when authors use them. Noon is summer. Evening is like the fall, and night is like the winter. All right, so what do these things suggest? Spring suggests new life, a new awakening, energy, newness, curiosity, so many other things. Guys, I'm just giving you a short list here, but a new day, all right? So this hope of a new day. When we get to noon and summer, we're talking about high points in life. The sun is shining brightly. This is usually talking about ages. This also correlates with human ages. Morning, spring, this would be youth, or childhood would be spring. And then summer would be probably mid-teens to like mid-20s, so to speak. And then you have the fall, and that could go on. Lord knows that could go on. I mean, how many of you guys you're full of those vitamins, you're doing well. So I'm just telling you, there are different stages of life as well that are represented here. The fall is what I call the great slowing down. Whenever that happens, a lot of people see that symbolically as the 40s, a slowing down of energy, and this continual slowing progression toward the night or the winter time, which represents the great sleep or the coming on of death. Okay, so this is just some symbology that's useful to note for you, that everything, time of day, if you're reading something that talks about, 5 a.m. or 7 a.m. versus noon or 4 or 9 o'clock at night, there are reasons why the artists choose those things. They're not there because they're like, okay, it's like 8:30. They select those things carefully, and everything pieces together with everything else. And guys, whenever you're reading great works of literature, you need to realize that every word matters. I'm not going to go into symbology of colors or any other kind of symbology right now. I'm just giving you some basics to think about. What does this mean? Why did they select that color? Why is the sky cloudy and it looks like they can't see the sun? I mean, hello, it's a gray day. Some stories start, it was a dark day, a gray day, it was raining. Hello, they're not just telling you that because I think it's raining. I think it's rain. It's not rain. It's not just random. Everything is for a purpose. So I want you to dig deeper. I want you to start reading these selections, short stories, poetry, and start thinking about word choice and thinking about, wait a minute, does this mean more than what it suggests? All right. One last note on the characters. I mean, you can do this with setting, characters, anything. Look for patterns, look for word choices. But one thing I want to note about Hemingway's Hills Like White Elephants, just briefly, is I want you to note that there are 3 characters. There's the American, the girl, and the woman. And the woman is this waitress at this bar. And I just want to make some comments to you about her. This is a woman who has seen many, many couples come and have similar conversations. She has seen life. If you've known anybody that works at a bar for any length of time, usually people who work at a bar know a lot about human nature. They've heard stories, they've heard people's experiences, because people who come to bars tell them all sorts of details. So this woman, listen, terminology between a girl and a woman, there's a big difference there. And I'm already at 18 minutes, so I don't want to take a lot more of your time. But there's a difference between what it means to be a girl and what it means to be a woman. She's described as a woman, and the main character, Jig, is described as a girl. Why? And let me tell you something else. In our culture, when you have a baby, it changes you into a woman. She's pregnant and they know it. They're on their way to have an abortion, right? So why is she still referred to as a girl? It's something to think about. One thing I would offer, just as a suggestion, and it, whatever you want, I think she's becoming a woman in this piece. And one thing I've often wondered is why Hemingway at the very last of this doesn't refer to her as a woman, because it does seem like she's coming into her own and maturing, and she's not naive anymore, and she's realized some very important things about life. And I don't know. But as I told you, this piece does not have a clear ending. Oh, it ends, but the story doesn't end. What happens after this? Does she go with him? Does she have the abortion? What do you think? Let me tell you this. What happens to their relationship? What you know, from what you know in your life experiences, think about these two people like they're real people, okay? So they get the abortion. What happens to them as a couple? Do they stay together? Do they go on? Think about how he treats her. Is this something that's going to last forever? Now think about this. What if she breaks up, if she leaves, if she doesn't get on the train with him, or if she decides not to have an abortion? Are they together? Does he have a great awakening and stand by her side? What happens to these two? Hemingway leaves us in this, I love this piece. It never gets old to me, because Hemingway leaves us in this place where we bring our own experiences to the ultimate understanding of this piece. Our experiences, our knowledge, what we know, what we have experienced, what we hope, all comes into play with how we see this piece and these characters. All right, so I want to hear from you. Take a look at the discussion board and give me some feedback on what you think about these guys. All right. Have a great week, everybody. Thanks for listening. Bye.